My Colonel wife had me locked in the Brig because I refused to sign a guardianship form for her ex-husband's son. At 6:40 on a Monday morning, 2 military police officers entered my office at Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton. By 8:15, my belt, shoelaces, phone, and wallet were sealed inside a clear property bag. By noon, Colonel Vanessa Cole had already told our commanding general that I had threatened to abandon a 13-year-old child. That was not what happened. I had refused to become legally responsible for a boy whose father was alive, capable, and standing 20 feet away when Vanessa demanded my signature. My name is Owen Barrett. I was a Marine Chief Warrant Officer assigned to the Marine Expeditionary Force Communications Directorate. For 19 years, I had built secure battlefield networks, deployed 5 times, and maintained a personnel file so clean that my commanding officer once joked I was too boring to investigate. Vanessa and I had been married for 6 years. She commanded the 17th Logistics Regiment. Her former husband, Major Eric Dalton, had left the Marines 2 years earlier after a medical retirement. Their son, Noah, was 13. Noah was not the problem. I liked him. He was quiet, obsessed with aircraft, and smart enough to recognize when adults were using him in arguments he had not created. The problem was Eric. And Vanessa's belief that because I married her, I had automatically agreed to repair every responsibility Eric abandoned. The conflict began on Sunday night. Eric appeared at our base housing unit without warning. Noah stood beside him with 2 suitcases. Vanessa opened the door and smiled as if she had expected them. I had not. "What's going on?" I asked. Eric set one suitcase inside. "I'm leaving for Arizona tomorrow." "For how long?" "Could be a year." Vanessa answered before he did. Eric accepted a security contract overseas. I looked at her. "You knew?" "For a few days. And you didn't tell me?" "I wanted to understand the situation first." Eric took an envelope from his jacket. "Everything's prepared. Inside were guardianship documents. Not temporary emergency contact forms. Not school pickup authorization. A broad durable guardianship giving Vanessa and me joint authority for Noah's medical care, education, housing, travel, and financial decisions while Eric worked overseas. My name was already typed beside Vanessa's. All I had to do was sign. I placed the documents on the kitchen counter. "No," Vanessa's expression changed. Eric stared at me. "No what?" she asked. "I'm not signing this tonight. You've known Noah for 6 years. That isn't the issue." "Then what is?" "His father is standing in our kitchen asking me to assume his legal responsibilities because he wants a contractor job." Eric crossed his arms. "It's not like I'm disappearing. The document gives us full guardianship for up to 18 months. It's temporary. 18 months is not a weekend." Vanessa lowered her voice. "Owen, don't do this in front of Noah." I looked toward him. He was standing near the stairs, pretending not to listen. "Exactly," I said. "This should have been discussed before someone brought him here with packed bags." Eric sighed. "I knew you'd make it complicated." "What does that mean?" "You've always resented that Vanessa and I have history." I almost laughed. "You are leaving your son for a contract. My opinion of your history is irrelevant." Vanessa stepped between us. "Enough." The colonel entered her voice. That tone worked on hundreds of Marines. It did not turn a family decision into an order. "Owen, Noah will stay here," she said. "You will sign tomorrow." I looked at her. "No," her jaw tightened. "This is my son." "Yes. My house. Our house. My family. I am also your family." "Then act like it." The words landed harder than Eric's insult. "What exactly does acting like family require?" "Showing up." "I show up." "You tolerate Noah." "That is false. You never wanted to be his father." "He has a father." Eric looked offended by the accuracy. Vanessa picked up the guardianship packet. "Eric is giving us authority because he trusts us." "No. He is transferring responsibility because it is convenient." Eric stepped forward. "You don't get to judge me. I get to decide whether my signature goes on a legal document." Vanessa's eyes went cold. "Not everything is about your consent." That sentence should have warned me. I answered anyway. "When my name is on the signature line, yes, it is." Noah began walking upstairs. Vanessa called after him. "Sweetheart, everything is fine." He stopped halfway. "No, it isn't." Then he looked at me. You don't have to be my dad. The kitchen went silent. He continued. I told Dad I could stay with Grandma. Eric's face hardened. That's not happening. Why? Because your grandmother is 72. She's fine. Vanessa walked toward Noah. You are staying with me. With you or with Owen? With both of us. Noah looked at me again. I hated that adults had turned my refusal to sign paperwork into rejection of him. You can stay here tonight, I told him. That is not the same as signing a guardianship agreement without reviewing it. Vanessa spun toward me. Stop making him feel unwanted. I'm trying to make sure he understands this is an adult legal decision. Eric muttered, Jesus, you really are cold. I ignored him. I'll have my attorney review the document tomorrow. Vanessa laughed once. Your attorney? Yes. This is family. Then why did Eric bring notarized legal documents? No one answered. I went upstairs to sleep in the guest room. At 5:30 the next morning, I woke to discover Vanessa had already left. The guardianship packet was gone. So was Eric. Noah remained asleep in the second guest room. I made him breakfast before leaving for work. Are you mad at me? He asked. No, Mom said you don't want me here. I said I won't sign a legal document without understanding it. What happens if you don't sign? That is something your mother and father need to work out. He nodded. Dad says you make Mom choose. Between what? He says between you and us. There it was. The phrase Eric had probably been feeding her for years. I crouched beside the table. Noah, you are not on the opposite side of anything from me. Okay. And none of this is your fault. He stared at his cereal. Okay. I left for the communication center at 6:10. At 6:27, Vanessa called. I answered from my office. Have you changed your mind? No, my JAG reviewed the form. Your command JAG should not be handling your private guardianship dispute. He gave general guidance. I'll have independent counsel review it. We do not have time. Why? Eric's flight leaves this afternoon. That is Eric's scheduling problem. Her voice became sharper. If you refuse to sign, Noah may lose base school eligibility and medical access under our housing arrangement. Then you and Eric should have handled that before today. You are doing this to punish me. I'm refusing a legal obligation you presented 12 hours ago. You signed my family care plan last year. As your emergency contact. That does not make me Noah's guardian. It proves you accepted responsibility. No. It proves I agreed to be contacted if you were unavailable. She became quiet. Then she said, Eric told me what you said after I deployed last year. What? That if I kept letting him use our marriage as backup parenting, eventually I'd have to choose. I remembered the argument. Eric had cancelled his custody weekend 3 times in 1 month. Vanessa was deployed to Okinawa. I took care of Noah because someone needed to. When Vanessa returned, I told her the arrangement could not continue indefinitely without a real plan. That was about Eric failing to honor custody, I said. You threatened to stop taking care of my son. I said his father needed to parent. You always find a technical distinction. Because distinctions matter. Noah hears rejection. Then stop telling him my refusal is about him. Silence. Then Vanessa said something strange. Come to regimental headquarters at 7. Why? We're resolving this. No. I have a classified network review at 7. Cancel it. You are not in my chain of command. Her voice went flat. I'm asking as your wife. And I'm answering as your husband. No. She hung up. 13 minutes later, the military police entered my office. Chief Warrant Officer Barrett? Yes. Sir, we need you to come with us. My section head, Lieutenant Colonel Mason Trent, stepped out of his office. On what authority? The senior MP handed him a form. Protective custody pending investigation of a domestic threat and possible child abandonment offense. Mason read it. Then looked at me. Owen, did something happen at home? No, the MP said. Colonel Cole reported that Chief Barrett threatened to remove a dependent minor from military housing and refuse necessary care. I stared at him. I did not. She also reported concern that you might interfere with the minor's access to medication and transportation. What medication? I don't have details, sir. Mason looked at the form again. Who authorized confinement? Provost Marshal Duty Officer approved temporary detention pending command review. Confinement where? Base holding initially. Brig transfer if pre-trial confinement is authorized. I understood immediately. Vanessa had converted a family disagreement into a military safety allegation. Not because refusing guardianship was an offense. Because claiming I threatened an existing dependent could trigger immediate action before anyone investigated the underlying facts. I did not resist. I called my attorney from the office before surrendering my phone. Her name was Captain Alicia Moreno, a military defense counsel I knew professionally but had never needed personally. Say nothing substantive until I arrive, she told me. Do not sign a family care statement. Do not accept any Article 31 rights waiver. And Owen? Yes? Your wife cannot order you confined just because she is a colonel. She didn't sign the confinement order. Then we find out who she convinced to do it. At base holding, investigators advised me of my rights. The allegation had already expanded. Vanessa claimed I told her that if she brought Noah into our home permanently, I would make sure he had nowhere to stay on base. I had never said that. She claimed I threatened to remove Noah from our TRICARE-related medical arrangements. I had no authority to do that. She also claimed I became physically aggressive toward Eric. The kitchen had a security camera. I knew because I installed it after a package theft. Vanessa knew too. That gave me my first moment of relief. Please preserve our home security system, I told Alicia when she arrived. Already requested. What did Vanessa submit? A written command safety complaint. Against me? Yes. Through her regiment? She sent it to the provost marshal and your group commander. Why my commander? She characterized this as potential conduct unbecoming and dereliction involving a military family care obligation. I stared at her. I'm not legally responsible for Noah. That is exactly what we are checking. Alicia opened her folder. Your personnel family care plan lists Vanessa as spouse. No minor dependents are listed under you. Correct. Noah is enrolled under Eric's benefits? Correct. Then refusing to sign new guardianship documents is not abandoning an existing dependent. Correct. So the legal theory is weak. Then why am I here? Because your wife attached something. She slid a photocopy across the table. A family care plan amendment. My name appeared beneath an electronic signature. It stated that I voluntarily accepted responsibility for Noah during Vanessa's deployments and Eric's absences. The signature date was 4 months earlier. I had never seen the document. That isn't mine. Alicia looked at me. You are certain? Yes. Could Vanessa access your CAC? No, any saved digital signature? Not for military forms. The document had been processed through Vanessa's regimental administrative section. Approval initials belonged to her adjutant. If someone had placed my signature on a military readiness form without authorization, the case had just changed. At 11:20, Alicia requested immediate release. The duty commander refused. He said Vanessa had provided additional information alleging I might retaliate against witnesses and remove Noah from housing. At 12:05, I was transferred to the base Brig under temporary pre-trial confinement pending a formal review. The receiving sergeant looked almost apologetic. Chief, you know the process. I do. My belt came off. Then my watch. Not an heirloom. A plain black dive watch I had worn through 3 deployments. The steel door closed behind me. For the next 4 hours, I sat on a narrow bunk and thought about every system Vanessa had used. Rank. Command credibility. A family care document I never signed. A safety allegation framed to trigger immediate action. And the assumption that once I experienced enough pressure, I would sign the guardianship papers and allow everyone to call the problem solved. At 4:30, Alicia returned. She looked angry. That is usually good news, I said. It is. She placed a transcript on the table. The home security footage had been preserved. It showed the entire kitchen argument. No threat. No physical aggression. No statement about removing Noah from housing. It also showed Eric saying, if Owen won't sign, we can use the plan Vanessa already filed. I looked at Alicia. What plan? The forged family care amendment. The video continued. Vanessa answered Eric. He doesn't know it was processed. Then Eric asked, what happens if he finds out? Vanessa said, he'll be angry. But once Noah is established here and Owen is listed as responsible, he won't blow up my command over paperwork. I stopped breathing for a second. She had filed the document months earlier. Before Eric's overseas contract. before Sunday night. The guardianship demand had not been an emergency. It was the final step in a plan she assumed I would eventually accept because challenging it would damage her career. Alicia turned another page. There's more. At 5:46 that morning, before Vanessa called me, she sent a message to Eric. If Owen refuses again, I'll use the family care violation. Once command puts pressure on him, he'll sign. Eric replied, you can actually confine him over this? Vanessa wrote, not for refusing the guardianship. For abandoning a dependent and making threats. He'll understand the difference after a night in the brig. I read it twice. She knew the allegation was false. She knew the legal distinction. And she deliberately used the second to punish me for the first. Alicia leaned toward me. We're filing an Article 138 complaint and an Inspector General report tonight. We are also challenging the confinement review. An Article 138 complaint allowed a service member to seek redress for wrongs committed by a commanding officer. Vanessa was not my commander. But her misuse of command channels, false official statements, and possible forged readiness document belonged squarely with the Inspector General, Naval Criminal Investigative Service, and her chain of command. What happens to her? I asked. That is not our objective. I know. Our objective is to get you out, preserve the records, and stop anyone from turning this into a private marital dispute. I looked around the brig interview room. Concrete wall. Steel table. Camera in the corner. Vanessa thought confinement would make me understand the difference. She was right. I understood exactly what she had done. At 6:12 p.m., I signed one report. Not the guardianship form. An Inspector General complaint documenting the forged family care plan, false threat allegations, misuse of military police channels, and the message stating she intended to put command pressure on me until I signed. Alicia attached the home video, document metadata request, and Eric's messages. The complaint went simultaneously to the Marine Corps Inspector General, NCIS, the Installation Commanding General, and my own chain of command. No social media. No press. No threat to Vanessa. Just the record. At 7:03, NCIS issued a preservation request for Vanessa's government phone, email, administrative files, and regimental family care records. At 7:18, the Commanding General ordered an independent review of my confinement. At 7:41, Vanessa's access to personnel readiness systems was suspended. At 8:06, her executive officer was directed to assume temporary command authority for all matters involving family readiness and personnel discipline. I was still behind a locked door. But the pressure had changed direction. Vanessa wanted one night in the brig to teach me that saying no carried consequences. Instead, one report had placed every order she gave under review. And somewhere outside that cell, investigators were about to ask the question she had counted on no one asking: who signed my name? The confinement review began at 8:30 the next morning. By then, I had spent 26 hours in military custody because my wife believed humiliation would make a signature easier to obtain. Captain Alicia Moreno sat beside me in the secure hearing room. Across the table were a military magistrate, a government attorney, and an officer appointed from outside Vanessa's regiment. Vanessa did not attend. Her attorney submitted a written statement instead. It said she had acted out of an urgent and sincere concern for the welfare of a military-connected child. Nothing in the statement explained why concern for Noah required inventing threats I never made. The magistrate began with the most basic question. Chief Warrant Officer Barrett, is Noah Dalton your legal dependent? No, sir. Have you adopted him? No. Are you his court-appointed guardian? No. Have you signed any document voluntarily accepting continuing legal responsibility for him? No. The government attorney lifted the Family Care Amendment. This document appears to say otherwise. Alicia answered. My client disputes the signature. NCIS has opened an inquiry into how the form was generated and submitted. The magistrate looked toward the government attorney. Was the signature authenticated before confinement was requested? No, sir. Was there a court guardianship order? No. Was there evidence Chief Barrett intended to remove the child from housing? The reporting officer stated that he threatened to do so. The reporting officer being his wife? Yes. Any independent witness? The government attorney glanced at his notes. Major Dalton. Former Major Dalton? Yes. Alicia placed a transcript from the kitchen camera on the table. Major Dalton was present. The recording does not show the alleged threat. The magistrate read several lines. Then several more. The government attorney stopped trying to defend continued confinement. At 9:06, the magistrate ordered me released. He found no adequate basis to believe I had committed an offense requiring pretrial confinement and noted that the original allegation depended heavily on disputed statements from people with direct personal interests. The confinement itself would receive separate review. The Brig door opened at 9:31. A property clerk returned my belt, wallet, phone, and watch. I fastened the watch around my wrist and walked outside. Mason Trent was waiting beside Alicia's car. My section head rarely showed emotion. That morning, his jaw looked carved from stone. "I owe you an apology," he said. "For what?" "I signed the acknowledgement allowing MPs into our secure workspace. You were given a safety order. I should have asked harder questions. You had an allegation involving a child and domestic threats. You followed procedure." He studied me. "You sound less angry at me than I am. I know who created the allegation." Mason looked toward the base. "She's been relieved." I stopped. "Of command?" "Temporarily. The commanding general placed her deputy in charge pending investigation." That was faster than I expected. "Why?" "NCIS found the Family Care Amendment. I knew they were looking at it. They found the original digital submission." Alicia opened her tablet. The form had been uploaded 4 months earlier from Vanessa's government workstation. That alone did not prove she forged it. The next record came closer. The PDF had been created from a Word template stored inside her personal command folder. My electronic signature image had been inserted at 10:14 p.m. The file was uploaded at 10:22. Vanessa's common access card authenticated the submission. Her adjutant approved it the following morning. "Did the adjutant speak to me?" I asked. "No, why?" "He says Colonel Cole told him you were deployed and had already agreed." "I was in San Diego that week." "I know. The access logs showed that too." At 10 o'clock that night, while the forged document was being created from Vanessa's office computer, my CAC was used at a secure communications lab 11 miles away. I could not have digitally signed the form from her workstation. NCIS interviewed the adjutant before sunrise. Captain Bryce Fallon had served Vanessa for 18 months. According to the preliminary summary, he admitted questioning the form. He asked why my dependent record did not already include Noah. Vanessa told him the Family Care Amendment was being processed before a civilian guardianship update. Fallon said he asked whether my signature had been verified. Vanessa answered, "Owen knows. He hates paperwork." Fallon approved it. That answer would haunt his career too. Not because he forged anything. Because an administrative officer accepted a colonel's assurance in place of required verification. What was the purpose of filing it 4 months ago? I asked. Alicia looked at me. That is what NCIS wants to know. We did not wait long. At 11:15, investigators searched Vanessa's command office under authorization from the installation commander and appropriate legal review. They found a folder labeled Dalton Family Continuity. Inside were school enrollment documents, medical authorization forms, base access requests, draft housing paperwork, and a handwritten timeline beginning 5 months earlier. The first entry read, "Eric may take overseas position need Noah stabilized before departure." The second, "Owen will resist permanent responsibility if framed as guardianship. Use existing family care structure first." Then, once school/medical dependency established, formal guardianship becomes administrative cleanup. My signature had never been the first step. It was supposed to be the last. Vanessa planned to create enough institutional facts around me that refusing later would appear irrational. Noah living in our house. Noah listed in readiness paperwork. Noah using my emergency contact status. Then the guardianship form would simply formalize what records already claimed I had accepted. Alicia scrolled farther. One note was dated 3 weeks before Sunday's confrontation. "If Owen refuses, Eric can leave anyway. Necessity will force decision." Another, "Do not make this about Eric. Owen reacts badly when he thinks Eric is avoiding responsibility. Present as Noah security issue." I stared at the screen. She had studied my objections in advance. Not to understand them. To route around them. Who else saw this? I asked. Only investigators and the commanding general's legal advisor so far. Keep it that way. Alicia nodded. No media. No, I did not need the Marine Corps reading my marriage in headlines. I needed the official record corrected. At noon, I called Noah. He answered from Vanessa's house. Not our house anymore. Something had changed while I was confined. Hey, I said. Are you still in jail? No, he exhaled. Mom said you were being investigated. I was released. Did you do something? No, he was quiet. Then he asked, did Mom make them take you? I chose the answer carefully. She gave them information that was not true. People are checking why. Because I'm here? Noah, none of this is because you're here. Dad left. When? This morning. Eric had flown to Arizona after all. Not overseas yet. His contractor orientation began there before travel. Who's with you? Mrs. Fallon from next door. The adjutant's wife. Where is your mother? She went to work and then came back with people. They took her computer. I closed my eyes. Are you okay? I don't know. That is a reasonable answer. Do I have to leave? No one is putting you on the street. Mom said if you didn't sign, I might lose everything. She should not have told you that. Is it true? No. Your father remains legally responsible for you. Your mother is your parent. There are school and medical arrangements that can be made without pretending I already agreed to be your guardian. Then why didn't they just do that? Because coercion was easier than negotiation. Because Vanessa believed a complete family on paper would solve a problem she did not want to admit Eric created. Because my signature made her plan simpler. Adults sometimes choose the wrong shortcut, I said. Is Mom going to prison? I don't know. Do you want her to? No, that surprised him. You don't? I want the investigation to be accurate. Dad says you're trying to destroy her career. Your dad said that? This morning. Of course he did. Eric had left his son with neighbors, boarded a flight, and still found time to frame accountability as revenge. Noah, I am not going to discuss your parents' investigation with you. Okay. But if anyone tells you this happened because you needed a home, that is not true. His voice became smaller. Okay. After the call, Alicia told me NCIS wanted another interview. This time, I was not a suspect. I was a complainant and potential victim of false official statements and forged documentation. The investigator, Special Agent Dana Rourke, began with the guardianship packet. When did you first see it? Sunday night. Did Colonel Cole ever discuss adopting Noah with you? No. Permanent custody? No. Expanded guardianship? No. Did you ever agree to become his legal father? No. Did you provide care during Colonel Cole's deployments? Yes. How often? Several times a year. Sometimes days. Once for 6 weeks when Eric cancelled his custody period during her deployment. Did you consider that voluntary? Yes. Did you consider it permanent? No. Did Colonel Cole? I don't know what she privately believed. Dana appreciated the distinction. Investigators hated witnesses who guessed. Then she showed me a series of emails recovered from Vanessa's government account. The earliest was sent to Eric 5 months ago. Owen already functions as Noah's second parent. The issue is getting him to stop treating the legal title as some sacred line. Eric replied, because once he signs, I can take the overseas work without the guilt trip. Vanessa wrote, he'll sign if Noah is already settled. He won't displace a kid to win an argument. Another exchange followed 2 months later. Eric, what if he talks to his own lawyer? Vanessa, then we make it a readiness matter first. Military people hate looking unreliable in front of command. Dana looked at me. Did Colonel Cole ever threaten your career over this before Monday? Not directly. Indirectly. I remembered arguments where she told me senior warrant officers were expected to model family stability. Times she suggested my reluctance to become Noah's permanent guardian reflected poorly on leadership. But disagreement inside a marriage was not automatically misconduct. I won't characterize old arguments without documents, I said. Dana nodded. Fair. Then she showed me something worse. A draft memorandum Vanessa had prepared the night before my detention. Subject, Family Readiness Concern CW04 Owen Barrett. It claimed I displayed increasing hostility toward Noah, threatened to remove him from quarters, questioned whether the boy deserved military medical access, and created an escalating safety concern. At the bottom, Vanessa wrote, recommend temporary removal from residence and command directed behavioral health assessment until guardianship dispute stabilizes. She did not merely want one night in the brig. She wanted an official record suggesting I was unstable. Was this sent? I asked. To your group commander and the provost marshal. Behavioral health? She drafted the referral. It was not processed before your release. Had it been processed, the consequences could have followed me far beyond the guardianship argument. Security clearance reviews. Weapons access. Promotion screening. Deployment eligibility. Not automatically ruinous, but permanent enough to require explanation every time my record was examined. Why would she do that? Dana asked. I knew better than to speculate about motive. The messages say she expected pressure to make me sign. Dana closed the folder. That is what we are examining. At 3, the commanding general issued a formal order relieving Vanessa of regimental command pending investigation. Her executive officer, Lieutenant Colonel Priya Deshmukh, assumed acting command. The public explanation said only that the change resulted from an ongoing investigation unrelated to operational readiness. Inside the regiment, rumors spread immediately. I received messages from Marines I had not spoken to in years. I answered none. Mason ordered my entire section not to discuss the matter. If anyone asks, he said, the investigation is outside our lane. That protected me more effectively than public loyalty ever could. At 5, Eric called. I let Alicia listen. You happy now? He asked. No, Vanessa lost her command because you couldn't sign one piece of paper. She lost command temporarily because investigators found a family care document I did not sign. You took care of Noah for years. That does not authorize forgery. You always wanted her to choose you over us. No. I wanted you to fulfill your custody obligations. You think I'm a bad father? I think leaving your son with packed bags and forged paperwork because your flight was booked is irresponsible. His breathing changed. You're going to leave Noah homeless just to prove a point. No, you already filed for separation? That surprised me. Vanessa had told him before I had even retained family counsel. I have an appointment tomorrow. You really are doing this? Yes. After everything she did for your career. My career? She protected your deployments. She covered for you when your command schedule wrecked holidays. That is called being married. She raised your profile with generals. I never asked her to. Eric laughed. You think you got where you are by yourself? There it was. The same structure as the guardianship. Something given without my request later converted into a debt I was expected to repay with obedience. Eric, are you still accepting the overseas contract? Silence. That is none of your business. It matters to Noah. I'll handle my son. You left him with Vanessa while she is under investigation and unable to use command resources. He has housing. For now. Then what's your problem? My problem is that you keep demanding everyone else guarantee what you refuse to plan. He hung up. 2 hours later, Dana called Alicia. Investigators had recovered deleted messages from Eric's phone through a synced cloud backup. The night before my detention, he wrote, if he still says no, scare him. He cares more about that uniform than anything. Vanessa replied, I know exactly what pressure will work. Eric asked, will it follow him permanently? Her answer, not if he cooperates quickly. Once he signs, I can tell command it was a misunderstanding and close it out. She had designed my professional record as leverage. Damage first. Correction after obedience. At 9:10, I sat in Alicia's office and signed a supplemental Inspector General statement adding the newly recovered messages. Then I met my family attorney by secure video. I instructed her to file for legal separation, enforce our prenuptial agreement, preserve financial records, and request exclusive use of the house while the military investigation continued. I did not ask for Vanessa's pension. I did not ask the court to prevent her from seeing Noah. He was her son. I asked only that no document identify me as his guardian without my explicit written consent. Before we finished, Alicia entered holding another NCIS summary. Something else surfaced. What? The family care amendment wasn't the only document. Vanessa's administrative section had submitted a dependency support memorandum to base housing 2 months earlier. It stated that Noah resided with us as a long-term dependent and that I had agreed to provide financial support during Eric's overseas absence. My signature appeared again. The housing office had relied on it to approve a larger family allowance calculation for Vanessa's command housing eligibility. Money had already been paid. Not much. But federal money. A false signature had moved beyond family pressure. It had become part of an official claim involving benefits. And this time, Vanessa could not say she filed it merely to protect a child. The payment went to her. The housing memorandum changed the investigation again. Until then, Vanessa could still argue that every false document had been created for one purpose: keeping Noah stable while Eric prepared to leave. The housing allowance made that explanation harder. The memorandum stated that Noah had become a long-term member of our household and that I had agreed to provide financial support during Eric's absence. Because Vanessa commanded a regiment and occupied designated family housing, the additional dependent status affected her housing calculation and several related benefits. The amount was not enormous. Over 2 months, the difference totaled $3,840. What mattered was how she obtained it. My signature appeared beneath a statement I had never read. NCIS pulled the submission history. The file originated from Vanessa's regimental administrative section. Captain Bryce Fallon processed it. Vanessa's CAC authenticated it. And 2 weeks after the first payment appeared, she sent Eric a message. Housing is fixed. Noah is now established in the system. Owen can't keep pretending this is temporary. Eric replied, "Did he finally sign?" Vanessa answered, "Not directly. I handled it." Special Agent Dana Rourke read the message aloud during my next interview. "Did you know Colonel Cole was receiving increased benefits based on Noah's status? No. Did household expenses change? No. Did she ever tell you she had added Noah to a long-term support declaration? No. Did Noah actually live with you full-time during those 2 months? No. He stayed with Eric most school nights. That mattered. The form did not merely use my name without consent. It described a living arrangement that did not exist." Dana made another note. "Did you transfer money to support Noah? Sometimes I paid for meals, school trips, and things he needed while staying with us. Regular support? No. Any fixed monthly amount? No. Did Colonel Cole ever ask you to contribute one? No." The government attorney sitting beside Dana looked toward the file. "Then the allowance calculation may have been based on materially false information." I understood the implication. Forging my signature on family paperwork was serious. Submitting false information to receive federal benefits added potential fraud. A relatively small amount did not make the statement less false. "What happens now?" I asked. Dana answered carefully. "We investigate intent, knowledge, and who prepared each document. Charging decisions do not belong to me." "Fair." She closed the housing file and opened another. "We also need to discuss the behavioral health referral. I had almost forgotten it. Vanessa drafted a command-directed evaluation request before my detention. She described me as emotionally unstable, hostile toward a child, and increasingly fixated on my wife's prior marriage. The referral had not reached medical personnel before the confinement review released me. But the draft still existed. Dana showed me the routing note. Vanessa had instructed Captain Fallon, "Push this immediately after custody. If he signs the guardianship, we can cancel before behavioral health intake." Dana looked at me. "What does that tell you?" I almost answered. Then stopped. She was testing whether I would speculate. "It tells me the referral was tied to whether I signed." Good. Not whether I was actually unstable. That is one interpretation supported by the wording. We will still interview the people involved. The pattern was becoming too consistent to call improvisation. Forged family care plan. False housing declaration. False safety complaint. Pre-planned behavioral health referral. Temporary confinement. All of it pointed toward the same objective. Create enough official pressure that signing the guardianship became the easiest way out. At noon, the installation commanding general, Major General Stephen Ward, ordered a command climate review of Vanessa's regiment. Not because my marriage was now military business. Because investigators found evidence that she had used staff officers and administrative systems for personal purposes. A colonel could not quietly turn a regimental headquarters into a family law office. Captain Fallon was removed from administrative duties pending review. 2 civilian employees who processed the housing paperwork were interviewed. Neither had spoken to me. One said Vanessa personally delivered the memorandum and told her, "My husband is deployed into classified work and cannot keep re-signing routine forms." Use the standing authorization. I had not been deployed. I was working 11 miles away. The employee asked whether my signature was current. Vanessa said yes. The clerk accepted it because the colonel was standing in front of her. That sentence appeared repeatedly in the investigation. Because the colonel said so. Because Colonel Cole had already approved it. Because no one wanted to tell a regimental commander that her husband needed to verify his own signature. Rank had become a substitute for evidence. At 2, my family attorney called. The separation petition had been filed. Vanessa had been served through counsel. The prenuptial agreement kept our premarital property separate. My retirement benefits and hers would be divided according to the marital portion if we reached divorce. The base house was government quarters, not an asset. Because Vanessa had been relieved of command and I had no dependent entitlement through her regiment, housing officials began reviewing who could remain there. I did not care. I had already arranged temporary quarters off base. The only item I requested immediately was my personal equipment and documents. My lawyer also asked the civilian court for an order prohibiting either spouse from signing, submitting, or representing consent on behalf of the other. Vanessa did not oppose that provision. She opposed the separation itself. Her attorney's response said reconciliation remained possible and accused me of acting under the emotional strain of an active military investigation. I read the sentence twice. Even in family court, my reaction was being described as the problem. Then my attorney showed me Vanessa's proposed temporary agreement. If I withdrew the separation petition, she would reimburse the housing allowance, correct the family care paperwork, withdraw every statement alleging I threatened Noah, and sign a declaration stating the behavioral health referral had been unnecessary. In exchange, I would agree not to pursue additional administrative complaints arising from the guardianship dispute. I looked at my attorney. She wants the report withdrawn. Effectively. Can I even do that? No. The Inspector General and NCIS own their investigations now. So the offer is impossible. Partly. It also suggests she still sees the investigation as something you control. I rejected it. Vanessa called that evening. I answered with my attorney on the line. You saw the proposal. Yes. I am trying to fix what happened. You are trying to trade corrections for the marriage. I am offering to put everything back. You cannot put 26 hours in the Brig back. I know. You cannot erase the referral draft. I can correct the record. You can cooperate with investigators. I am. Then why ask me to stop? Because this is becoming bigger than what happened. No. Investigators are discovering what happened was bigger than I knew. Her voice sharpened. You think I wanted federal money? You signed a housing declaration that increased your benefit. For Noah. He did not live with us full time. I was preparing for him to. That is not how benefits work. I would have corrected it once Eric left. You were already receiving the money. I never even noticed the increase. Then reimburse it. I will. That does not change the false form. Silence. Then she said, you always reduce everything to paperwork. No. You keep using paperwork to create facts that don't exist. She breathed slowly. I was trying to build stability before Eric left. Without asking me whether I agreed to be part of it. You would have said no. Yes. And then what happens to Noah? His parents make another plan. You were already acting like his parent. Helping a child does not give you the right to sign my name. I thought once he was living with us, you would adjust. That is the entire problem. She became quiet. You always adjust, she said. There it was. Not cruelty. Expectation. I had covered Eric's missed weekends. Taken Noah to school. Attended medical appointments when Vanessa deployed. Paid for camps and meals without keeping score. Every voluntary act became evidence that one more obligation could be added. You turned my willingness to help into permanent consent, I said. I thought that was what family meant. Family means asking before assigning someone a legal role. She started crying. I was afraid you would make me choose between you and Noah. No. You were afraid I would make Eric remain responsible. That too. And instead of confronting him, you used your rank on me. I know. The admission came softer than before. But then she added, I never thought they would actually keep you in the Brig overnight. I stopped. You wrote that one night would make me understand. I thought they would hold you for a few hours. That improves what? It doesn't. Did you intend for me to be detained? Yes. Did you intend the behavioral health referral to follow me? No. I planned to cancel it once you signed. Which means you used a medical process as leverage. She began crying harder. I know how it sounds. It sounds exactly like what you did. I ended the call. The next morning, NCIS interviewed Eric in Arizona. His overseas contractor had postponed his deployment after learning he was connected to an active federal investigation. For the first time, Eric had an incentive to tell the truth before Vanessa could tell it for him. He admitted knowing about the forged family care plan. Not when it was first filed. Later. According to his statement, Vanessa told him 3 months earlier, I solved the readiness piece. Owen doesn't know yet. Eric asked whether that could create problems. She answered, only if he turns family business into a command issue. Eric said he did not ask further questions because the solution benefited him. That admission mattered. He also admitted encouraging Vanessa to use military pressure after I refused the guardianship. Dana read me part of his statement. I told Vanessa Owen would never sign voluntarily because he hated the idea of replacing me. She said he didn't need to like it. He needed to understand the consequences of refusing. Then investigators asked whether Eric believed I hated Noah. His answer was immediate. No, that was the first thing he had said in months that surprised me. Did Chief Barrett ever mistreat your son? Dana asked him. No. Did he refuse emergency care? No. Did he ever threaten to remove Noah from housing? No. Then why did you support Colonel Cole's complaint? Eric answered, because I needed him to sign. The entire safety allegation collapsed into that sentence. No threat. No abandoned child. No unstable warrant officer. 2 adults wanted a signature. One of them had rank. The other had a plane ticket. My career was the pressure point between them. At 3 that afternoon, Major General Ward formally suspended Vanessa from all command duties pending disposition of the investigation. This was broader than temporary relief. She could not exercise disciplinary authority. She could not sign readiness certifications. She could not supervise personnel actions involving the regiment. Lieutenant Colonel Priya Deshmukh assumed full acting command. The general also ordered an audit of every family care and personnel exception Vanessa approved during the previous 2 years. That audit was not about me anymore. It was about whether she had treated administrative rules as obstacles whenever she believed her judgment was sufficient. By evening, auditors found 6 irregular files. 4 appeared to be sloppy but legitimate. One involved a staff sergeant whose family care plan Vanessa approved despite missing verification because he was deploying within 48 hours. The last involved Captain Fallon. Vanessa had authorized him to claim temporary dependent care reimbursement before his spouse's documentation was complete. No fraud had been established. But the pattern showed she repeatedly used personal authority to override controls meant to verify eligibility. She did it for other people too, Mason said when I told him. Yes. Does that help her? Maybe with motive. She can say she was trying to help families. She can also explain why she thought rules were optional when she decided the outcome was good. Mason nodded. That is less helpful. My own command reviewed the confinement incident separately. The provost marshal acknowledged that officers relied too heavily on Vanessa's rank and written complaint. The duty officer who authorized temporary detention had not verified whether Noah was legally my dependent. The command changed its policy. Future domestic readiness complaints involving senior officers would require independent verification of the alleged duty before confinement decisions whenever immediate physical danger was not present. I did not ask for anyone to be punished. The duty officer had made a bad decision under incomplete information. He had not fabricated the information. Vanessa had. Then Dana called at 7:50. We recovered a voice memo from Colonel Cole's phone. What kind? Personal note. Dictated the night before your detention. She played it. Vanessa's voice filled the speaker. Tomorrow, Owen refuses again, initiate readiness complaint. Keep Noah out of the command details. If Owen signs after intervention, withdraw safety concerns and document marital misunderstanding. If he continues, behavioral health referral gives time to stabilize custody. A pause. Then, do not let Eric leave before Owen is locked into responsibility. Dana stopped the file. Vanessa had not lost control during an argument. She had written a sequence. Refusal. Complaint. Detention. Signature. Withdrawal. A military process converted into a negotiation strategy. The final line was the part that stayed with me. She did not want Eric to leave until I was locked into responsibility. She understood exactly what she was doing. She simply chose the wrong person to lock up. Because by the end of that day, the Marine Corps was no longer asking whether I would raise Eric's son. It was asking whether Colonel Vanessa Cole could ever be trusted with command authority again. Vanessa was formally removed from command 8 days after the voice memo was recovered. Not relieved temporarily. Removed. Major General Stephen Ward signed the order after reviewing the preliminary Inspector General findings, NCIS evidence, and the Independent Command Climate Report. The order did not end her Marine Corps career. It ended her authority over the 17th Logistics Regiment. That distinction mattered. Command removal was an administrative action. Punitive consequences would require separate procedures. Vanessa's attorney immediately requested reconsideration. The request argued that she had acted under extraordinary family stress and believed Noah faced imminent instability if Eric departed. General Ward denied it in 6 paragraphs. The sentence everyone remembered was the fourth. A commander may exercise discretion within lawful authority. She may not manufacture obligations, create false official records, or invoke military processes to compel a private legal decision. I read it once. Then closed the file. I did not feel victorious. For 6 years, I had watched Vanessa earn that command. She had deployed twice. Managed logistics during a wildfire evacuation. Stayed awake 36 hours coordinating humanitarian flights after a Pacific typhoon. Hundreds of Marines trusted her because she usually made difficult decisions quickly. That was part of what made the investigation so uncomfortable. She was not incompetent. She was not a cartoon villain. She was a talented officer who had spent long enough being right under pressure that she stopped recognizing when her authority ended. The military investigation began separating those two things. Her operational record remained strong. Her conduct involving me did not. NCIS identified 4 possible categories of misconduct. False official statements. Unauthorized use of my signature. Submission of inaccurate dependency information tied to federal benefits. And abuse of official processes to pressure a private action. The Inspector General focused on command misuse. The Housing Office handled repayment. My own command investigated how I had been confined. No single officer controlled the entire outcome. That was important because Vanessa had already begun telling people I had filed one report to destroy her. The report started the review. Evidence determined what happened next. At 10 o'clock on Thursday morning, Vanessa appeared before a Board of Inquiry Preparation Conference. Because she was a colonel with more than 20 years of service, the Marine Corps could not simply erase her career with a general's signature. If separation for misconduct was pursued, she had rights. Counsel. Evidence. Witnesses. A board. She could contest the allegations. She did. Her defense strategy became clear immediately. She admitted filing the Family Care Amendment. She denied intending to forge my signature. According to her statement, she believed the electronic image represented a standing household authorization I had previously allowed for routine family matters. That explanation had a problem. The document itself contained a certification directly above the signature. I voluntarily accept continuing responsibility for the dependent named above. There was nothing routine about it. She also admitted submitting the housing memorandum but argued that Noah's expected move made the dependency information substantially accurate. Another problem. The form asked for current residence and current support. Not expected residence. Not future support. Current. Then she addressed the confinement. She said she genuinely feared I would react badly when Eric left. The home camera contradicted her description of my behavior. The voice memo contradicted her claim that detention was simply a safety response. And her text to Eric contradicted both. Once command puts pressure on him, he'll sign. Her attorney tried another argument. The word pressure, he said, did not necessarily mean unlawful coercion. That was true. Pressure could mean counseling, legal education, command discussion, family readiness assistance. Then investigators played the next message. Eric, you can actually confine him over this? Vanessa, not for refusing guardianship. For abandoning a dependent and making threats. He'll understand the difference after a night in the brig. The room became silent. She knew refusing guardianship was not an offense. So she created a different allegation. That was the center of the case. Not whether Noah needed stability. Not whether I was a good stepfather. Not whether Eric was irresponsible. Whether a colonel knowingly used false allegations because lawful authority could not produce the result she wanted. My own statement for the board was 6 pages. Alicia wanted me to keep it factual. I did. I described the Sunday conversation. The unsigned guardianship packet. The Monday phone call. The detention. The forged amendment. The home recording. I did not call Vanessa vindictive. I did not call Eric a coward. I did not speculate that she loved her ex more than me. The facts were sufficient. Then the board's counsel asked, Chief Barrett, if Colonel Cole had simply asked you to care for Noah temporarily while a lawful custody arrangement was completed, would you have agreed? Yes. Vanessa looked at me for the first time that day. The counsel continued. For how long? I don't know. A few weeks. Possibly longer if there were a real emergency. Then why refuse the guardianship? Because Eric had months to plan. He remained legally responsible. And the document imposed broad obligations on me without consultation. So your objection was not to the child residing in your home? No. Was it to supporting him financially? No. To acting as an emergency caregiver? No. What was it? My wife and her former husband had already decided what legal role I would take. They wanted my signature after the decision had been made. That was all. The board did not need a speech. Afterward, Vanessa caught me outside the hearing room. Our attorneys were 20 feet away. Owen. I stopped. She looked thinner. No colonel's command badge. No entourage. Only service uniform and a folder against her chest. You would have let Noah stay? Yes. Her face tightened. You never said that clearly. I said he could stay the first night. I thought you meant one night. I said the legal paperwork needed review. You kept talking about Eric. Because Eric was leaving. She looked down. I thought if I gave you time, you would find 10 reasons to say no. That is why people ask before making plans. I was terrified he would lose the contract. I stared at her. You were worried about Eric losing his job? He needed the money. He chose a job that required someone else to take responsibility for his son. He said it was his chance to rebuild. And you decided my refusal was the obstacle. She started crying. I kept thinking you had capacity. For what? For more. That sentence explained more than she intended. I had capacity. A stable career. A stable income. No children of my own. A house with room. Experience caring for Noah. So Vanessa treated my capacity as unused inventory. If I could absorb another responsibility, why should my willingness matter? I was not an empty position on a staffing chart, I said. I know that now. No. I think you know the investigation says that. Her eyes met mine. That's fair. Then she said something I did not expect. Eric canceled the overseas contract. Why? The contractor terminated the offer after his background review was reopened. For the investigation? Partly. They also found omissions in his financial disclosures. I almost smiled at the absurdity. The entire crisis had started because Eric claimed he had to leave immediately for an opportunity that no longer existed. Where is Noah? With Eric's mother in Oceanside. He chose his mother after all? He didn't have much choice. Noah suggested her the first night. Vanessa closed her eyes. I know. There had been a lawful, obvious option in the kitchen from the beginning. Noah's grandmother. No forged documents. No confinement. No federal benefit claim. No destroyed marriage. Vanessa had rejected it because she had already decided what the correct family should look like. Her. Me. Noah. And Eric free to leave. Reality was expected to fit the plan. At the next NCIS interview, Eric admitted something else. Vanessa had been paying several of his expenses for almost a year. Car insurance. Noah's private tutoring. Part of his rent after medical retirement. The payments came from her personal account. Nothing illegal about that. But investigators found messages showing Eric repeatedly linked her help to guilt. You replaced us with Owen and his perfect career. You owe Noah stability after choosing the regiment over this family. If Owen really loves you, he'll understand you still have responsibilities to us. Vanessa answered those messages with money. Then favors. Then paperwork. She had been trying to prove that divorcing Eric had not meant abandoning him or Noah. Eventually, proving that required making me participate. That was the part no regulation could explain. At our first substantive separation conference, Vanessa admitted it. I thought if you became Noah's guardian, Eric would finally stop saying I chose you over my son. My family attorney remained silent. So did hers. I asked, did you choose me? Yes. Then why was that something you had to apologize to Eric for? I didn't know how to separate leaving him from hurting Noah. So you kept compensating? Yes. And eventually I became part of the compensation. Her eyes filled. Yes. That was the moment I knew the marriage was over. Not the Brig. Not even the forged form. Those were consequences. The deeper problem was that Vanessa had never created a boundary between her guilt toward Eric and her obligations to me. Every time Eric called, our marriage became a resource available to settle an old debt. Our time. Our money. Our home. Then my name. Then my career. My attorney slid the divorce petition forward. Vanessa looked at it. You're filing? Yes. Not separation anymore? No, she stared at the first page. I thought we still had time. We did. When? Before you decided I needed confinement to understand you. She began to cry. I never wanted to ruin your career. You were willing to create an official record saying I was unstable and dangerous. I was going to withdraw it. After I obeyed. Yes. That is worse, Vanessa. I know. She did not contest service. Our prenuptial agreement simplified most property issues. My premarital investment accounts remained mine. Her inherited property remained hers. Marital savings would be divided. Retirement benefits accrued during the marriage required calculation under federal rules. No children together. No custody fight. The only unusual provision my attorney requested was a permanent injunction prohibiting either party from signing the other's name or representing authorization without written consent. Vanessa agreed immediately. Then she asked if I would remain available to Noah. My answer took longer. I won't disappear if he calls. She nodded. I won't ask you to support him. I know. I mean financially or legally. I understand. He thinks all of this happened because Dad wanted to leave. It happened because adults made decisions around him. He misses you. That hurt more than anything she had said in weeks. I miss him too. Can I tell him? Yes. That evening Noah called me. I heard you and Mom are getting divorced. Yes. Because of me? No, you keep saying that. Because you keep asking. He was quiet. Then, Grandma says Mom did something really bad. She made serious decisions that are being investigated. Dad says you reported her. Yes. Would she still be a colonel if you didn't? I don't know. That was technically true. Then I added, but I would still have spent a night in the Brig for something I didn't do, and false records would still have my name on them. He understood more than most 13-year-olds should have needed to. So if you didn't report it, it would just stay there. Yes. Mom said she could have fixed it. She could correct some records. She could not make them never have existed. Noah sighed. I hate this. So do I. Can I still come see you? Yes. You don't have to. I know. 2 Saturdays later, I took him to the Aviation Museum in San Diego. No guardianship. No legal obligation. No command order. I picked him up because I chose to. That difference made the day feel strangely important. While Noah photographed an F-14, my phone rang. Alicia. The Inspector General substantiated the core allegations. All of them. 4 major findings. Misuse of official authority. False official statements. Improper personnel system access. Retaliatory use of command processes. What about the benefits issue? NCIS is still handling potential criminal exposure separately. And command? The commanding general has initiated a board of inquiry for separation and characterization of service. I looked through the museum glass at Noah. What does that mean for retirement? Potentially significant. The board can recommend retention or separation. If separated, grade determination can affect the rank at which she retires. Vanessa had been selected for brigadier general consideration the previous year. That future was gone already. Now colonel might not even be the rank printed on her retirement paperwork. Alicia continued. There's also a new finding. What? Investigators found evidence she attempted to alter the original family care file after you were detained. I stepped away from the exhibit. How? At 7:02 Monday morning, after MPs had already entered your office, Vanessa messaged Captain Fallon. Alicia read it. Replace Owen's signature page with the cleaner scan before anyone starts asking technical questions. Fallon replied, which version? Vanessa, the one without the old timestamp. My stomach went cold. Did he do it? No. He says that message scared him. He preserved both versions instead. So the original still exists. Yes. And she tried to replace evidence after setting the detention in motion. Yes. This was no longer only about the false document she filed months earlier. Once the system began moving against me, she recognized that the paperwork might expose her. And while I was being taken into custody, she tried to make the record harder to challenge. One report had not taken her down. Her own decisions kept adding weight to it. The message to Captain Bryce Fallon changed the case from misconduct to possible obstruction. Vanessa had already filed a false family care amendment. She had already used that document to support a housing claim. She had already submitted false allegations that helped put me in confinement. But at 7:02 on the morning I was detained, after the military police had entered my workplace, she sent Fallon an instruction: replace Owen's signature page with the cleaner scan before anyone starts asking technical questions. That was different. It suggested she knew the existing record could expose how the document had been created. NCIS interviewed Fallon again. This time, his attorney was present. He brought both versions of the family care amendment. The first was the one investigators already had. My signature image had been inserted into the PDF 4 months earlier. Its metadata preserved the original creation date. The second looked almost identical. Except the signature page had been recreated 2 days before my detention. No original metadata. No obvious editing trail. If Fallon had substituted it, an investigator looking only at the active personnel file might have concluded the signature page had always existed in that form. Special Agent Dana Rourke asked him, "Who created the second version?" "Colonel Cole sent it to me." "When?" "Saturday night. 2 days before I was confined." "What did she say?" Fallon looked toward his attorney. Then answered. "She said the old scan looked bad and might create problems during Noah's dependency update." "Did she explain what problems?" "She said Chief Barrett would probably challenge the paperwork once Major Dalton left." "So she anticipated a challenge?" "Yes." "Did you know the signature was unauthorized?" "Not at first." "When did you know?" "Monday morning." "What happened Monday?" "Colonel Cole told me Chief Barrett had refused the guardianship and command intervention was underway." Dana placed the 7:02 message in front of him. "You received this after military police had already been sent?" "Yes." "What did cleaner scan mean to you?" "A replacement signature page." "Why didn't you do it?" Fallon took a long breath. "Because at that point I realized this was not routine paperwork." "Why?" She had just used the existing document as part of a complaint against him. Replacing it after that felt like changing evidence. That answer probably saved him from much worse consequences. He had failed earlier. He had approved paperwork without verifying my consent. He had allowed Vanessa's rank to substitute for procedure. But when she asked him to alter the record after official action had begun, he stopped. He preserved both versions. Then, according to his statement, he downloaded the associated email thread to an external evidence folder before his access was suspended. That thread was devastating. Saturday, 8:43 p.m. Vanessa wrote, "Bryce, rebuild Owen's page using the clean family signature. The old embedded version is too obvious." Fallon, "Has CWO Barrett reviewed the amendment yet?" Vanessa, "He knows what the plan is. He just refuses to formalize it." Fallon, "That isn't the same as signing." Vanessa, "I'm not debating family law with my adjutant. Fix the page." Fallon did create the second version. He did not upload it. Vanessa received the file at 9:18. She replied, "Keep this ready. If Owen cooperates tomorrow, none of this matters." The guardianship confrontation happened Sunday night. The detention happened Monday morning. She had prepared a replacement record before she even gave me the final opportunity to sign voluntarily. That made the sequence impossible to describe as panic. She expected refusal. She expected official pressure. She expected the document might be challenged. And she prepared a cleaner version in advance. Alicia Moreno called me after the interview summary was released to counsel. NCIS has referred possible obstruction and false record issues to the trial counsel's office. Does that mean court-martial? Not automatically. What does it mean? It means her chain of command will receive formal legal advice on whether the evidence supports charges under the UCMJ. Administrative separation can proceed separately. What charges? Potential false official statement. Conduct unbecoming. Obstruction-related offenses. Possibly larceny or fraud theories connected to the housing payment, depending on intent and how prosecutors characterize the benefit. Forgery? Maybe. But don't build your expectations around labels. The government will charge what it believes it can prove. That was why I trusted Alicia. She never turned procedure into revenge language. She kept telling me the same thing. Evidence first. Consequences second. At the Board of Inquiry, Vanessa's defense changed strategy. She stopped denying most of the underlying acts. Instead, she argued they resulted from a collapse in judgment during an intense family crisis. Her attorney presented 12 character witnesses. A lieutenant colonel who served under her in Afghanistan. A Navy captain who worked with her during disaster response. A retired general who described her as one of the finest logistics officers of her generation. None of them lied. That was the hardest part. Vanessa had done extraordinary things. A sergeant major testified that she once slept on a warehouse floor for 4 nights because her Marines were doing the same. A former battalion commander said Vanessa personally intervened to get emergency travel approved for a lance corporal whose mother was dying. A logistics officer described her refusing pressure from a contractor during a deployment because the documentation did not support payment. That last testimony hurt. She knew exactly why documentation mattered. She had enforced rules when other people wanted exceptions. Then her own family became the exception she believed justified everything. Her attorney asked the board to separate a catastrophic personal failure from 22 years of honorable service. The government agreed they should consider the entire record. Then it presented the timeline. Month -5, Vanessa learns Eric may take overseas contract. Month -4, false family care amendment submitted using my signature. Month -2, housing memorandum submitted stating Noah already resides with us and I support him. Month -3 weeks, Vanessa notes that if I refuse guardianship, necessity will force decision. Saturday, replacement signature page created. Sunday, guardianship presented to me for the first time. Monday, 5:46 a.m., Vanessa texts Eric that she will use a family care violation if I refuse. 6:27, she calls me and demands I come to regimental headquarters. 6:40, military police enter my office. 7:02, she instructs Fallon to replace the signature page. Later that morning, behavioral health referral prepared as additional pressure. That was not one bad moment. It was planning. The board counsel asked Vanessa directly, Colonel Cole, when did you first know Chief Barrett had not signed the family care amendment? She looked toward her attorney. Then answered. The day it was submitted. So 4 months before his detention? Yes. Why did you allow it to remain in an official system? I believed he had functionally accepted the responsibility. Functionally is not a signature. No, why did you later prepare a replacement signature page? I was afraid the original metadata would make it look like I had forged it. The board president stared at her. Had you? Vanessa swallowed. I had authorized use of an old signature image without his permission. Then why would metadata be misleading? It wouldn't. The room went silent. That was the first time I saw her stop defending the indefensible in front of people who could end her career. The board counsel continued. Why submit a new page rather than correct the record? Because if I corrected it, the entire family care plan would have been reopened. And? Eric's departure would have been delayed. So you prioritized maintaining the administrative arrangement? Yes. Over verifying your husband's consent? Yes. Over accurate official records? Vanessa closed her eyes. Yes. Her attorney did not object. There was nothing to object to. Then came the confinement. Did Chief Barrett threaten Noah? No, a murmur moved through the hearing room. The government attorney waited. Did he threaten to remove Noah from housing? No. Did he threaten to deny him medical care? No. Was Chief Barrett physically aggressive toward Major Dalton? No. Every allegation that justified urgent intervention disappeared one by one. Then why did you report those concerns? Vanessa stared at the table. Because I thought if Command treated the situation as serious, Owen would stop refusing. Stop refusing what? The guardianship. Was refusing guardianship a military offense? No, did you know that? Yes. Then you created another basis for intervention? Yes. The board president leaned forward. Colonel, you commanded nearly 2,000 Marines. Did you understand what an allegation of domestic instability could do to Chief Barrett's clearance and career? Yes. Did you intend permanent damage? No, what did you intend? Temporary pressure. The president's expression hardened. You believed you could create an official allegation, obtain compliance, then make the allegation disappear? Vanessa's voice became almost inaudible. Yes. That was the sentence that ended any realistic chance of her returning to command. The board recessed. I walked outside with Alicia. For several minutes neither of us spoke. Then I asked, how much of that did she have to admit? None beyond what her attorney advised. Why admit it now? Because the documentary evidence is overwhelming. Her best remaining argument is acceptance of responsibility. Does it help? Possibly with characterization of service and retirement grade. Not with command. That door was closed. My phone buzzed. Noah. Dad says Mom admitted she lied about you. Is that true? I did not answer immediately. A 13-year-old should not have been getting updates on a military administrative hearing. I called Eric. He answered with obvious irritation. What? Stop telling Noah details from the board. He asked. He is 13. He deserves to know why his mother is losing everything. He deserves adults who don't use him as an audience. You're protecting her now? No. I'm protecting him. Eric laughed bitterly. You always get to be the reasonable one. This is not about me. It is always about you. Your rules. Your boundaries. Your career. And yet you were the one asking Vanessa to scare me because you wanted a contract. Silence. I continued. You admitted under oath that I never mistreated Noah. Yes. Then stop letting him think the investigation proves something about whether I cared about him. He already knows you're divorcing his mother. That is between Vanessa and me. You think you can walk away clean? No, I looked through the courthouse window toward the hearing room. There is nothing clean about this. I ended the call. An hour later, the Board of Inquiry returned. It substantiated misconduct involving false official statements, misuse of authority, retaliatory command processes, and improper alteration efforts. It recommended separation. Unanimously. Then came the retirement grade recommendation. Vanessa was a colonel. But the board found her service in that grade had not been satisfactory because the most serious misconduct occurred while she held it. They recommended retirement as a lieutenant colonel, subject to final service level review and applicable retirement rules. She would not lose everything she earned over 22 years. She would lose the rank she had spent years reaching. The brigadier general selection process was formally terminated. No future command. No star. No colonel on her retired identification if the grade determination was approved. Vanessa did not react when the findings were read. Only when the board adjourned did she sit down and cover her face. I walked out. I did not stay to watch. That evening, Noah came to my apartment with his grandmother, Patricia Dalton. Patricia was 72. Perfectly healthy. Still driving. Still volunteering twice a week at a library. The supposedly impossible custody option had driven herself to my door. Noah carried a backpack. I'm not moving in, he said quickly. I know. Grandma said I could stay for dinner if you're okay with it. I am. Patricia gave me a tired smile. I should have pushed harder months ago. For what? Eric asked whether I could keep Noah if he took the contract. I said yes. I stared at her. When? 6 months ago. Before Vanessa filed the family care amendment. What happened? Vanessa said it would disrupt Noah's school commute and make Eric look like he was dumping his son on an old woman. Patricia shook her head. I told her I live 25 minutes away. Noah rolled his eyes. She thinks 72 means fossil. Patricia smiled. Then her expression turned serious. She had an answer before she asked anyone. That was Vanessa. Once she decided on the best outcome, alternative solutions stopped being solutions. They became resistance. After dinner, Noah and I sat on the balcony. Are you still going to talk to me after the divorce? He asked. Yes. Even if Mom isn't your wife? Yes. You don't have to. I know. He looked at me. Then why? Because I care about you. He stared down at his hands. Isn't that the same thing Mom thought? No, what's different? I'm choosing dinner with you. I pointed toward him. I am not signing a document that says I own your future. He smiled slightly. That sounds dramatic. You asked. He thought about it. So caring about someone doesn't mean you automatically get authority over them. No, Mom really hates that lesson. Despite everything, I laughed. So did I at 13. Later that night, Patricia drove him home. At 10:20, Alicia called. The criminal case had taken another turn. Investigators traced the housing payments. The extra allowance had gone into Vanessa's normal account. Within 48 hours of each payment, she transferred almost the exact increased amount to Eric. The memo line on the first transfer read, "Noah support." On the second, "Bridge until contract." That did not prove she created the false housing claim to enrich herself. It suggested she used federal benefits obtained through false paperwork to subsidize Eric. The government now had to decide whether that was benefits fraud, false claim activity, or part of the broader false statement case. What is Eric saying? I asked. He says Vanessa told him the money was hers. Did he know where it came from? Investigators found a text. Alicia read it. Eric, this is from the new allowance? Vanessa, yes. Technically it's for the household, but Noah is the reason we qualify. Use it for him. Eric, does Owen know? Vanessa, he doesn't need to. He never looks at my LES. Leave an earnings statement. She knew where the money came from. She knew I had not authorized the document supporting it. And she sent the increased benefit to Eric while telling herself it was morally justified because Noah benefited. Alicia continued. Trial counsel is preparing charges. When? Soon. What does Vanessa's board result change? Administrative separation and criminal proceedings can overlap. The convening authority will decide sequencing. I sat in silence. Are you okay? Alicia asked. Yes. You don't sound okay. I spent years watching her make difficult decisions correctly. That doesn't make this evidence disappear. I know. The next morning, Vanessa called through my divorce attorney. She wanted one meeting before the criminal disposition was announced. My attorney asked whether I wanted to refuse. I agreed instead. Neutral conference room. Both attorneys present. Vanessa entered without insignia beyond what her current status required. She sat across from me. The board recommended Lieutenant Colonel, she said. I heard. I'm probably going to accept retirement if headquarters approves it. What about the criminal case? My lawyer thinks the command may offer a plea. To what? I don't know yet. She looked at me. I wanted to tell you something before that happens. I waited. I kept saying I did everything for Noah. You did. No. I said it because it sounded better. Her attorney looked at her but did not interrupt. Vanessa continued. Some of it was for Noah. Yes. Some was for Eric. Yes. And some was because I could not tolerate you being the one person I couldn't command into agreement. That was new. She looked directly at me. At work, when people resisted, I could demand their reasoning. I could set deadlines. I could make the decision. At home, you couldn't. No, so you created a system where you could. Yes. Her eyes filled. When you said, you are not in my chain of command, I heard it as disrespect. It was a fact. I know. She swallowed. I made the military enter our marriage because being your wife wasn't enough authority. There was no better summary. She continued. I lied about threats. Yes. I filed your signature. Yes. I used the housing form. Yes. I prepared the behavioral health referral. Yes. I tried to replace the signature page after MPs were already there. Yes. And I did all of it because I believed I could correct the record after you gave me what I wanted. Yes. She started crying. I am sorry. I waited. I am sorry I turned caring for Noah into a test of whether you loved me. She wiped her face. I am sorry I let Eric's guilt become your debt. Another breath. I am sorry I used your career as leverage because I knew your uniform mattered to you. Her voice broke. I am sorry I put you behind a locked door for something I knew was not a crime. That one hurt. I am sorry I told myself temporary harm did not count because I planned to undo it. She looked at me. And I am sorry I made Noah believe your refusal to sign meant you rejected him. The room stayed quiet. I believed her. That did not change what came next. I accept that you mean it, I said. Hope flickered across her face. I'm still divorcing you. The hope disappeared. She nodded slowly. I know. Do not confess to me as a substitute for following your lawyer's advice. I won't. And do not use an apology to ask me to change my report. I won't. For once, she did not. 2 days later, the commanding general announced that Vanessa would face formal military charges. The specifications included false official statements, conduct unbecoming an officer, obstruction-related misconduct, and wrongful use of official authority. The housing benefit allegation was folded into the false statement case rather than charged as a separate theft count after prosecutors concluded the evidence of personal enrichment was weaker than the evidence of knowingly false certification. That mattered. They were not stacking charges for effect. They charged what they believed they could prove. Vanessa's lawyers began plea negotiations. Her board of inquiry recommendation moved toward final review. Our divorce moved toward settlement. And the Marine Corps began correcting every record that had carried my unauthorized signature. My personnel file. Housing. Family readiness. Security documentation. The behavioral health referral was formally marked as never clinically initiated and based on a withdrawn, unsupported command allegation. My clearance remained intact. My promotion eligibility remained intact. The official record now showed what happened. I had not abandoned a dependent. I had not threatened a child. I had not become unstable. I had refused to sign. And my colonel wife had tried to make refusal more expensive than obedience. Now the cost was finally being measured on the correct side of the signature line. Vanessa did not go to a general court-martial. Her lawyers negotiated for 6 weeks. The final agreement was narrower than the list of allegations originally referred. She pleaded guilty to making false official statements, conduct unbecoming an officer, and obstruction of an official proceeding through her attempt to replace the signature page after my detention began. The government dismissed the remaining specification involving wrongful use of authority as separately charged conduct because much of it overlapped with the conduct unbecoming count. There was no guilty plea to theft. No allegation that she had personally pocketed the housing money. No charge for imprisoning me directly, because she had not possessed unilateral authority to order confinement. The duty officer had made that legal decision based on information she supplied. That distinction mattered. Vanessa had lied to create the conditions. Other people had acted on those lies. At the plea hearing, the military judge made her explain every offense in her own words. No attorney language. No general apology. Facts. Colonel Cole, the judge said, did you know Chief Warrant Officer Barrett had not signed the Family Care Amendment? Yes, Your Honor. Did you authorize his signature image to be placed on it anyway? Yes. Why? I wanted the administrative system to reflect the family arrangement I intended to create. Not one he had agreed to. No. Did you later submit information describing Mr. Dalton's son as already residing in your household when that was not accurate? Yes. Did you know the statement affected housing-related benefits? Yes. Why did you submit it? I believed Noah would soon live with us and I treated the future arrangement as if it already existed. The judge leaned forward. Colonel, anticipated truth is not current truth. No, Your Honor. Then he moved to my detention. Did Chief Warrant Officer Barrett threaten the child? No. Did he threaten to deny medical care? No. Did he threaten to remove the child from housing? No. Then why did you report those things? Vanessa took several seconds before answering. Because I wanted command authorities to intervene. For what purpose? To pressure him into signing the guardianship. Did you understand refusing that guardianship was not a military offense? Yes. And yet you used allegations of different misconduct to create official pressure? Yes. The judge looked down at his notes. Did you intend for him to be confined? I intended for him to be detained long enough to believe the matter was serious. That was not my question. Vanessa swallowed. Yes. Did you expect the detention to end if he signed? Yes. Did you intend to withdraw your allegations afterward? Yes. That was the ugliest part when stated without emotion. She had designed an accusation with an off switch. Compliance. Then came the obstruction count. After military police arrived at Chief Barrett's workplace, what did you tell Captain Fallon? To replace the existing signature page with a cleaner version. Why? Because I was afraid the metadata would show when and how the original signature image was inserted. So you intended to make the record harder to examine accurately? Yes. The military judge paused. You were a regimental commander? Yes, Your Honor. How many Marines were under your authority? Approximately 1,800, depending on attachment. And you understood the importance of record integrity? Yes. You had disciplined Marines for false statements before? Vanessa's voice became quieter. Yes. Then why were your rules different? Her attorney shifted slightly. Vanessa answered anyway. They weren't. That was the correct answer. The judge accepted the plea. Sentencing took place the next day. The government called no dramatic character witnesses against her. It did not need to. Instead, trial counsel introduced the confinement record. 26 hours. The false family care amendment. The housing statement. The behavioral health draft. The voice memo. The messages to Eric. The message to Fallon after my detention started. Then the government introduced the career consequences already underway. Removal from command. Board recommendation for separation. Loss of general officer consideration. Pending retirement grade determination. Trial counsel did not ask for confinement measured in years. He asked for punishment reflecting abuse of trust. Vanessa's defense presented her service record. 22 years. 3 major deployments. Combat zone service. Humanitarian operations. Meritorious decorations. No prior disciplinary history. The retired general who had testified at her board returned. He said, her misconduct is indefensible. So is pretending it represents every day she wore the uniform. I agreed with him. The military judge apparently did too. Vanessa received a reprimand, forfeiture of a portion of pay for several months, and 60 days of confinement, with part suspended under the plea agreement provided she committed no further misconduct. She would serve 30 days. No dismissal from the service. That surprised several people. A dismissal would have been the officer equivalent of a punitive discharge. The judge explained why he did not impose one. The accused conduct was deliberate and serious. It abused rank, official systems, and the trust attached to command. However, punishment must address proven offenses, not public anger. The accused has accepted responsibility, made restitution, and possesses more than 2 decades of otherwise honorable service. Then he looked directly at Vanessa. You spent much of this case treating temporary harm as harmless because you intended to repair it later. Vanessa stared forward. The judge continued. 30 days of confinement is not equivalent to what Chief Barrett experienced, nor is it intended to be. Punishment is not an exchange rate. I remembered sitting on the Brig bunk. Belt gone. Phone gone. Waiting for someone to believe a colonel over me. The judge finished. Your greater professional consequence will come from losing the trust necessary for command. Vanessa began serving the sentence 2 weeks later. I did not visit. Noah did. Once. His grandmother took him. Afterward, he called me. Mom cried. I'm sure. She said being locked up is different when you know you deserve to be there. I did not know what to say to that. Noah continued. I told her you didn't deserve it. What did she say? She said she knows. He became quiet. Do you hate her? No, you should. Noah. What? You don't have to choose my feelings. He sighed. I'm tired of everybody telling me who I'm supposed to be mad at. Then stop letting us. That easy? No, he laughed once. Okay. Eric did not deploy overseas. The contractor terminated his offer permanently after its compliance review found he had failed to disclose unresolved financial disputes and had participated in communications encouraging false military allegations. He was not criminally charged in Vanessa's military case. Prosecutors concluded the evidence supported his role as an instigator and beneficiary, but he had no command authority and did not create the military documents himself. That did not mean nothing happened. The contracting company banned him from future work. His security clearance eligibility went under review. And Vanessa stopped paying his personal expenses. That last consequence affected him more quickly than anything else. He called me 3 days after her sentencing. You got what you wanted. No, she's going to jail. 30 days. You know what I mean. I did not negotiate her sentence. You reported her. Yes. So all of this started with you. No. It started before I knew the family care document existed. He laughed bitterly. You always have an answer. Records usually do. You think you're better than us. No, you think I used Vanessa. You did. She used you. Yes. That stopped him. I continued. And I don't need one of you to be innocent for the other to be wrong. Eric said nothing. You encouraged her to scare me because you wanted a contract. I was desperate. You had another custody option. My mother is old. She is raising Noah right now. She shouldn't have to. Neither should I because you booked a flight. He exhaled sharply. You care about him. Yes. Then why keep acting like responsibility is poison? Because voluntary care and assigned legal responsibility are different. That distinction again. Yes. It's why your marriage died. No. Ignoring it is why my marriage died. I ended the call. Our divorce settlement finalized while Vanessa was serving confinement. The financial issues were straightforward. Marital savings divided. Vehicle ownership separated. Retirement calculations reserved for the final order. No spousal support requested by either side. Our personal property had already been inventoried. Vanessa asked for only one disputed item. A framed photograph from my promotion to Chief Warrant Officer 4. She was standing beside me in dress blues. She had pinned one of the insignia herself. The frame belonged to us jointly. The photograph did too. I let her keep it. My attorney asked whether I was certain. Yes. Why? Because I have another copy. That was all. Not every object needed to become a principal. The court also entered the permanent mutual consent provision we had requested. Neither of us could sign the other's name, represent consent, or use the other's credentials without explicit written authorization. Normally, a divorced couple should not need a court order saying that. We did. The retirement grade determination arrived 2 days before Vanessa completed confinement. Headquarters approved retirement in the grade of lieutenant colonel. Her service as a colonel was determined unsatisfactory for retirement grade purposes because the substantiated misconduct occurred while she held that rank. The financial difference was real. So was the symbolic one. She had spent 7 years reaching colonel. Commanded a regiment for 16 months. Been competitive for a star. Her retirement papers would identify her as Lieutenant Colonel Vanessa Cole. The eagle was gone. I received the decision through Alicia. She watched my face. What? Nothing. You expected to feel something. Maybe. Relief? I already got my record corrected. Vindication? The evidence did that. She closed the folder. You don't have to pretend this isn't painful because the process worked. I'm not pretending. I looked through her office window at Marines crossing the courtyard. I just know what that rank meant to her. Alicia nodded. That does not make the decision wrong. I know. Vanessa completed confinement on a Tuesday morning. That afternoon, she requested one meeting through my divorce attorney. Technically, we were still married until the final decree entered the following week. Practically, everything was over. We met at the same neutral office. She wore civilian clothes. It was the first time in years I had seen her in the middle of a weekday without a uniform nearby. She sat across from me. I got the retirement decision. I know. Lieutenant Colonel. Yes. I thought that would be the thing that broke me. Was it? No, she rubbed her hands together. The first night in confinement was. I waited. I kept hearing myself say you would understand after one night. Her eyes filled. I had a bunk, a door, a schedule, no phone, and people deciding when I could leave the room. Yes. And I knew exactly why I was there. She looked at me. You didn't. No, I'm sorry. You already apologized. I know. But I understand that part differently now. I believed her. She continued. I kept imagining someone telling me I could make it stop if I signed a document I didn't agree with. Her voice broke. I don't know how I convinced myself that was pressure instead of coercion. Because you planned to reverse it afterward. Yes. And because you thought the outcome was good. Yes. Noah housed. Eric employed. You free of guilt. And you would eventually adjust. There it was again. I treated your ability to survive something as permission to do it to you. That sentence was better than any apology she had given before. Yes. She looked down. I won't ask you to forgive me. I may forgive you someday. Her eyes rose. That doesn't mean reconciliation. No, she nodded. I know. For once, there was no disappointment hidden behind the words. Then she told me what she planned to do after retirement. No defense contracting. No leadership consulting. No attempt to turn the scandal into a memoir. She had accepted a civilian logistics position with a disaster response nonprofit in Sacramento. No personnel authority, she said. No signatures for anyone but myself. That seems wise. She smiled faintly. I deserve that. Don't make your entire future punishment. Her expression changed. You mean that? Yes. What I did can be wrong without every day afterward needing to hurt. She cried then. Quietly. Not asking me to rescue her from it. Before leaving, she placed something on the table. A folded copy of the original guardianship packet. And signed. I found it in my personal files. I looked at the 2 signature lines. Vanessa's name. Mine. Empty. What do you want me to do with it? Nothing. Then why bring it? Because I wanted to see it once without imagining how to make you sign. She picked it back up. That sounds stupid. No, she tore it in half. Then again. Not dramatically. No movie speech. Just paper being reduced to pieces because the arrangement it represented no longer existed. I should have accepted no in the kitchen, she said. Yes. She placed the pieces in her bag. Then stood. Our divorce hearing is next Thursday. Yes. I'll be there. So will I. She walked toward the door. Before opening it, she turned. Owen? Yes? I told Noah the truth. About what? That you never refused him. I said nothing. I told him you refused us deciding for you. That was accurate. He cried. I'm sorry. He also said something I deserved. What? Vanessa gave a tired smile. He said, you could have just listened the first time. I almost laughed. So the 13-year-old solved the case. He usually does. She left. The following morning, I received the final Inspector General closure memorandum. My complaint was substantiated. The false records were corrected. Procedural reforms had been implemented. The command had completed its required response. At the bottom was a sentence that mattered more to me than Vanessa's retirement grade. No adverse personnel action shall remain in CWO for Barrett's record arising from the unsupported allegations that initiated his detention. My career was clean again. Not because someone erased what happened. Because the official record now preserved both parts. The allegation. And the truth. The Brig stayed in my history. So did the document explaining why I should never have been there. Vanessa had believed military paperwork could make a false responsibility real. Instead, paperwork became the thing that finally protected me. Because once every signature, timestamp, message, and order was placed in sequence, rank could no longer decide what the truth was. Our divorce became final 7 days after the Inspector General closed my complaint. There was no contested trial. No fight over the house. No argument over retirement. No last-minute accusation that I had abandoned Noah. Vanessa arrived at the courthouse in a dark civilian suit and sat beside her attorney. I sat across from her. For the first time since I had known her, there was no rank anywhere in the room. No colonel. No chief warrant officer. No commanding officer. No military police. Just 2 people whose marriage had failed. The judge reviewed our settlement. Marital savings divided equally. Vehicles separated. Personal property resolved. The marital portion of our military retirement benefits divided according to federal law and the terms negotiated by counsel. No spousal support. No shared debt beyond what had already been allocated. The permanent consent provision remained. Neither of us could represent the other's approval, sign for the other, or submit documents in the other's name. The judge paused on that paragraph. This is more specific than I usually see. Vanessa answered before either attorney could. It needs to be. The judge looked at her. You understand it applies equally? Yes, Your Honor. And you agree voluntarily? Yes. He turned to me. Chief Barrett? Yes. Then he asked the standard questions. Was the marriage irretrievably broken? Yes. Was reconciliation reasonably possible? No. Vanessa's eyes stayed on the table. The judge signed. The marriage ended at 10:17 in the morning. 6 years reduced to a stamped decree. Outside the courtroom, Vanessa asked if I had a minute. Our attorneys remained nearby. I thought I would feel relieved when it was official, she said. You don't? No, what do you feel? Like I finally reached the part one couldn't fix with another form. I did not answer. She smiled faintly. That was not a joke. I know. She held a manila envelope. What's that? Copies of every corrected record. The military already sent mine. I know. These are the ones involving Noah. I looked at her. Why give them to me? I thought you might want proof that your name is gone. I opened the envelope. Corrected family care plan. Corrected housing file. Dependency support memorandum withdrawn. Emergency contact documentation restored to its original form. A letter stating I had no continuing legal responsibility for Noah unless created by future voluntary agreement. There was also a statement signed by Vanessa. It read, CWO4 Owen Barrett never abandoned, threatened, or refused necessary care to Noah Dalton. Any prior statement by me suggesting otherwise was inaccurate and has been withdrawn. I looked at her. Did anyone require this exact wording? No, why write it? Because I was the person who put the opposite into the system. That was the right reason. Thank you. Her eyes filled. I should have done it before investigators made me. Yes. She nodded. I know. Then she handed me one more page. A letter addressed to Noah. Not for me. What is this? My therapist said I should write down what happened in language he can understand without making him responsible for forgiving me. Why are you showing me? I want to make sure I didn't blame you anywhere. I almost told her that was no longer my job. Then I thought about Noah. Read it. She did. Noah, when I asked Owen to become your legal guardian, I had already made plans without including him. When he said he needed time and did not agree, I told you that he did not want you. That was not true. Owen cared for you many times because he chose to. I tried to turn those choices into a permanent obligation without asking him. I also used my job and military systems to pressure him. I told people things about him that were not true because I thought fear would make him agree. None of that happened because of you. You did not cause my investigation, my loss of command, my retirement, or our divorce. Adults are responsible for what they choose to do, even when they tell themselves they are doing it for someone they love. You never needed Owen to become your father in order for him to care about you. And you never needed me to control other people in order to prove I cared about you. I am sorry I made you feel responsible for choices that belonged to me. Vanessa stopped reading. Well, leave it exactly like that. You don't want anything changed? No, for once, her first honest version was enough. She folded the letter. I'm giving it to him tonight. Good. Then she looked toward the courthouse steps. Eric asked whether I would start paying his rent again. I almost laughed. What did you say? No, how did that go? He said I was abandoning Noah. And? I told him Noah has a bedroom at my new apartment, a bedroom at his grandmother's house, health coverage through his father, and a school plan. Paying Eric's rent is not the same as protecting Noah. I studied her. That sounds almost familiar. She smiled sadly. I had a good teacher. No, her expression changed. You learned because the alternative finally became too expensive. That too. Then she said goodbye. This time, we were legally finished. 2 weeks later, Vanessa retired from the Marine Corps. There was no regimental farewell ceremony. No colonel's eagle framed in a shadow box. No brigade of Marines standing in formation. Her retirement grade had been finalized as lieutenant colonel. Her commanding general approved a small administrative ceremony because her 22 years of service still mattered despite how they ended. I did not attend. Noah did. Afterward, he sent me a photograph. Vanessa stood in civilian clothes holding a folded flag. No uniform. No rank. No command. He wrote, Mom didn't make a speech. I replied, probably wise. He answered, she said the flag is for all 22 years, not the last one. That sounded right. A career could contain both. Good service did not erase misconduct. Misconduct did not require pretending every previous act had been false. I had learned to resist simple stories because simple stories were how people justified bad decisions. Eric was not evil because he took a contractor job. He was irresponsible because he expected other people to absorb the consequences. Vanessa was not a fraud for 22 years. She abused genuine authority when her private life produced a problem she could not command away. I was not a victim in every part of our marriage. I had stayed quiet through smaller violations because confronting them felt exhausting. That mattered too. The military cleared me fully for continued service. My next promotion board reviewed the confinement incident because it appeared in historical security documentation even though the adverse allegations had been removed. Mason Trent warned me before the board. They may ask. I expect them to. Don't sound defensive. I won't. The board president did ask. Chief Barrett, were you recently subject to a domestic-related military investigation? Yes, sir. What was the outcome? The allegations against me were unsupported. The Inspector General substantiated my complaint regarding false records and misuse of command processes. My personnel record was corrected. Any remaining restrictions? No, sir. Anything you would do differently? That question surprised me. I thought about the months before the Brig. The missed custody weekends. Vanessa telling me I was making family complicated. Me helping Noah because he needed someone. Then allowing that help to become an expectation nobody formally discussed. Yes, sir. What? I would insist on clear boundaries earlier instead of assuming informal arrangements would stay informal. The board president nodded. That sounds less like a military answer than a marriage answer. Probably both, sir. 3 months later, I was selected for promotion to Chief Warrant Officer 5. The notification arrived at 6:12 on a Friday morning. Mason called me before I reached the office. Congratulations. Thank you. You're buying lunch. Of course. Then he said, you know, some people thought the investigation would make the board nervous. I know. It didn't. The corrected record did its job. Mason laughed. Still boring. Trying to stay that way. I told Noah that evening. He sounded more excited than I was. Does that mean you outrank Mom now? No, what? She's retired. And warrant officer ranks do not work that way against commissioned officers. That is extremely disappointing. I know. So what do I call you? Owen. He laughed. A month later, I pinned on CWO5. No major ceremony. A conference room. My commanding officer. My section. A few friends. I invited Noah. He arrived with Patricia. Eric did not come. Vanessa did not come. That was deliberate. Not punishment. Clarity. Noah helped pin one side of the insignia. Mason pinned the other. Afterward, Noah looked at the rank on my collar. Did Mom know? That I was promoted? Yes. I assume. She texted me congratulations for you. That was nice. You want to hear it? If you want. He read, tell Owen he earned it. I'm glad my choices didn't take that away from him. I said nothing. Noah looked up. That sounded weird. No. It sounded accurate. Do you want me to reply? It's your phone. He rolled his eyes. You two are exhausting. He typed something anyway. What did you say? Thanks. Good. Simple. No hidden meaning. No message passed through a child because two adults were afraid to speak directly. I hoped that would be the last time he had to serve as any kind of messenger between us. Vanessa moved to Sacramento shortly afterward. Her disaster response nonprofit handled supply staging for wildfires, earthquakes, and flood evacuations. She was not a supervisor initially. Her title was Logistics Planning Specialist. The first time I heard about her work, it was from Patricia. She's doing well. I'm glad. She says her boss makes her get written authorization before changing anything. That sounds healthy. Patricia smiled. She complains about it constantly. Also healthy. Noah split time between Eric and Patricia, with regular visits to Vanessa. Eric found civilian work with a regional trucking company after his contractor prospects disappeared. He downsized his apartment. Stopped asking Vanessa for rent. Whether he changed because he understood responsibility or because nobody would subsidize avoidance anymore, I did not know. The result was still better for Noah. One Saturday, Noah and I drove to an air show near Miramar. He was 14 now. Taller. Louder. Less careful about adult moods. We sat beneath the wing of a static display transport aircraft eating terrible hot dogs. He asked, if Mom had just asked you normally, would you ever have adopted me? I nearly choked. That is a large question to hide between bites. I'm serious. So am I. He waited. I don't know. His expression fell slightly. I continued. Not because I didn't care about you. I know. Adoption would have required conversations with you, your father, your mother, attorneys, and probably a court. It is not something I can answer backward because everything went wrong. So maybe? Maybe. He nodded. That's better than Mom's answer. What was hers? She said she thought if she made everyone act like a family long enough, eventually we would become one. I looked toward the runway. That was part of the problem. I told her families aren't military exercises. I laughed. What did she say? She said I've been spending too much time with you. Probably true. Then Noah became serious. Do you ever wish you didn't meet us? No, he looked surprised. Even after jail? Brig, whatever. No, why? Because bad endings do not erase every good thing that came before them. He stared at me. That sounds like something therapists say. Then I want credit for stealing it convincingly. He laughed. That afternoon, an F-35 screamed overhead. Noah jumped to his feet. For several minutes, there was no divorce. No investigation. No rank. Just a teenager pointing at an airplane while I tried to hear him over the engines. That was the relationship I had always wanted with him. Not father because somebody typed it on a form. Not dependent because a colonel decided it should be official. Just Noah. Just Owen. Choice renewed every time we showed up. 6 months after Vanessa retired, Alicia called with the final administrative update. The service level review is complete. Anything changed? No. Retirement grade remains Lieutenant Colonel. IG findings final. No further action against you. And Fallon? Letter of reprimand, removal from adjutant duties, but retained. That seems fair. He cooperated and preserved evidence when it mattered. And the duty officer who approved my detention? Administrative counseling. No punitive action. Good. There was a pause. Owen, that's it. What? The case. I looked around my office. The new warrant officer insignia sat reflected faintly in the window. No more reviews? Not unless something genuinely new appears. No more signatures? Hopefully only your own. I smiled. Thanks, Alicia. You made the easy part hard. What does that mean? You never asked me how to ruin her. That wasn't the job. No, she paused. That is why the report held up. After we hung up, I opened the original Inspector General complaint. The one I had signed from inside the brig. My handwriting looked steady. I remembered the steel table. The camera. The certainty that Vanessa expected one night behind a locked door to change my answer. The report had taken down her command. But not by itself. It did not demote her. Did not sentence her. Did not end our marriage. Did not erase her general officer future. It did one thing. It forced people outside our marriage to preserve the record and ask whether the colonel's version was true. Then the documents answered. The forged signature. The housing claim. The voice memo. The false threats. The behavioral health draft. The replacement page. Her messages. Her admissions. One report opened the door. She had built everything waiting behind it. That evening, Vanessa sent me an email. The first direct message since the divorce. No demand. No emergency. No Noah problem. The subject line was simple. One correction: the email contained one paragraph. Owen, I heard through Noah that you were promoted. Congratulations. I told people for years that I helped build your career. That was another way I turned marriage into ownership. You built your record. I nearly damaged it. I wanted to correct that once, directly, without asking you to respond. Vanessa, I read it. Then archived it. I did not reply. Not because the apology was wrong. Because she had finally written something that did not require an answer to become valid. The next morning, I walked into work as CWO5 Owen Barrett. My record was clean. My marriage was over. Noah was still in my life. Vanessa was rebuilding hers without command authority. And for the first time since the kitchen argument, nobody was waiting for me to sign anything. 3 years after Vanessa retired, Noah asked me to come to his high school graduation. The invitation arrived by text. You're coming. Not optional. I replied, that sounds like an unlawful order. He sent back, learned from the best. I stared at the screen for a second before laughing. Noah was 17 now. He had grown 6 inches, earned a private pilot scholarship through a youth aviation program, and developed an irritating habit of correcting me whenever I called anything with wings an airplane. Vanessa would be there. So would Eric. We had managed to exist in the same orbit for years without turning Noah into neutral territory. That mattered. Eric became more reliable after the contractor disaster. Not suddenly. Not heroically. He simply started doing the things he should have been doing before. Showing up to school meetings. Paying his own rent. Keeping custody weekends. Taking Noah to medical appointments instead of asking Vanessa to arrange everything. His job at the trucking company became permanent. Later, he moved into operations management. He never apologized to me in a meaningful way. Once, at Noah's 16th birthday, he said, "I handled the contract situation badly." I answered, "Yes." He looked like he expected more. There wasn't more. People did not need my absolution to improve. Vanessa stayed with the disaster response nonprofit in Sacramento. After 2 years, she became regional logistics director. That title surprised me when Noah mentioned it. Does she supervise people again? Some. She told me every emergency authorization requires 2 signatures now. That may be organizational policy. She says she asked for it. That surprised me more. Vanessa had not returned to military command. She never tried to restore her retired grade. Never challenged the board of inquiry findings. Never turned herself into a public victim of bureaucracy. Her nonprofit knew her history before hiring her. She disclosed it. They gave her responsibility gradually. First planning. Then vendor coordination. Then field logistics. Eventually limited supervisory authority with financial controls she could not override alone. She apparently became obsessive about documenting exceptions. Noah complained that she now made him send written confirmation before borrowing her car. I told him that sounded like growth. He told me it sounded annoying. Both could be true. My own Marine Corps career continued. I served 2 more tours as a CW05. Not combat deployments. 1 Indo-Pacific assignment. 1 stateside modernization billet. The investigation followed me less than I expected. Not because people forgot. Because the official record was clear. At one security reinvestigation, an examiner asked about my confinement. I answered in 5 sentences. He checked the corrected file. Then moved on. That was what I had wanted from the beginning. Not to erase history. To make sure history contained the truth beside the allegation. I retired after 24 years. My ceremony was held in a hangar because Mason Trent, now a colonel himself, claimed conference rooms were too depressing for retirement. Noah came. Patricia came. Alicia Moreno came in civilian clothes after leaving active duty for private practice. Vanessa did not attend. She sent a handwritten card. "Congratulations on finishing on your own terms. I will not intrude on the day." Vanessa, no explanation. No request. No guilt. I kept the card. At the ceremony, Mason handed me the framed retirement certificate. "Any speech?" he asked. "No, you've learned nothing from officers. That was the goal." He laughed. Later, Noah found me near the back of the hangar. "So what are you now?" "Unemployed. Retired. Same thing with better paperwork." He looked at the rows of uniforms. "Do you miss it already?" "No, you're lying." "A little." Then he asked, "Did the report really end Mom's career?" I had wondered when that question would come. People had simplified the story over the years. Colonel lies. Husband reports her. She loses command, rank, career. Clean. Dramatic. Wrong. "No," I said. Noah leaned against a tool cabinet. "But if you hadn't filed it, she might have stayed in command longer." "So it did." It started scrutiny. "That sounds like lawyer language." "It is accurate language." He rolled his eyes. I continued. "The report told the Inspector General that something needed to be examined. It did not tell them what conclusion to reach. But you attached the messages." "Yes." "And the camera footage?" "Yes." "And the fake form?" "Yes." "So basically you gave them everything." "I gave them what I had." "What actually took her down then?" I thought about Vanessa's career. 22 years of strong service. 1 family problem. Months of planning. A forged signature. A false housing statement. A fabricated safety allegation. A behavioral health referral meant to disappear after obedience. An attempt to replace a record while I was already in custody. Then her own admissions. "Her choices," I said. Noah looked unconvinced. "That sounds too simple." "It usually is afterward. She always says she lost command because she abused authority." "That is accurate. She never says you did it anymore. Good. She used to. I know. What changed? I think she stopped needing me to be the person who caused the consequence. Noah considered that. Then he nodded. Therapy answer. Still stealing them. He smiled. 2 months later, I learned how much Vanessa had changed in a way I never expected. A wildfire tore through Northern California. Her nonprofit deployed supply teams to 3 evacuation centers. One center lost refrigeration for insulin and other temperature-sensitive medication. A county official called Vanessa directly and told her to reroute a refrigerated truck from another shelter. Years earlier, she might have done it immediately. The second shelter still had medication too. The first needed it more. The outcome looked obvious. Instead, Vanessa checked who owned the truck and who had authority to divert it. It belonged to a private medical contractor. The contract allowed rerouting only with the county emergency manager and contractor dispatcher approving together. The emergency manager was unreachable. People were waiting. A younger coordinator reportedly told Vanessa, "We can fix the paperwork afterward." She said, "No. That sentence cost me a career once." They found another refrigerated unit through a hospital partner 12 minutes later. Nobody lost medication. Nobody forged an approval. No emergency collapsed because one person refused to manufacture authority. Noah told me the story. "Mom says you'd appreciate it." "I do." "You going to tell her?" "No, why not?" "Because she did the right thing without needing praise from me." He stared at me. "You two are the strangest divorced couple alive. Probably not even top 10. Graduation came the following spring. The ceremony was held on a bright June afternoon. I sat with Patricia. Eric sat 2 seats away. Vanessa arrived alone. She paused when she saw us. For a second, the old version of our lives appeared. Me, Vanessa, Eric. All arranged around Noah. Then she asked, "Is this seat taken?" Patricia said no. Vanessa sat. Asked. Waited. Received an answer. Small things carried ridiculous weight after enough history. When Noah crossed the stage, Vanessa stood first. Eric stood next. Then me. He spotted us from the stage and shook his head like we were embarrassing him. Good. Teenagers deserved ordinary embarrassment. Afterward, families crowded the field. Noah insisted on photographs. One with Eric. One with Patricia. One with Vanessa. Then he looked at me. "Get over here." I stood beside him. Vanessa began to move away. Noah caught her sleeve. "You too?" She looked toward me. Not assumption. Question. I nodded. We took one photograph together. Noah in the center. Vanessa on one side. Me on the other. No one pretended it meant reconciliation. It meant we all mattered to him. Nothing more had to be invented. After the pictures, Eric approached me. He looked older than the man who had once stood in my kitchen with 2 suitcases and a guardianship packet. "I owe you something," he said. "What?" "An apology." I waited. "I knew you weren't dangerous." "Yes." "I knew you didn't hate Noah." "Yes." "I told Vanessa to scare you anyway because I wanted that contract." "Yes." He exhaled. "I kept thinking if you took over, I could leave without feeling like I'd abandoned him. That was the idea. I made your relationship with him compete with mine." "You did. And when everything collapsed, I blamed you because admitting the truth meant I had helped start it." I looked at him. "Are you asking me to forgive you?" "No, that was better. I wanted to say it before Noah leaves for college." "Why now?" "Because he asked me last month whether I ever told you the truth. And? I realized I hadn't." I nodded. "Now you have." He held out his hand. I shook it. Not friendship. Closure did not need to become friendship. Noah left for Embry-Riddle that fall. Aeronautical science. Exactly as anyone who had met him at 13 could have predicted. Before moving into the dorm, he made all 3 of us carry boxes. At one point Vanessa grabbed a plastic bin marked flight books. Noah stopped her. "That one goes under the desk." Vanessa started toward the closet anyway. He said, "Mom." She froze. Then looked at him. "Under the desk?" "Yes." She moved it under the desk. I caught her eye. She smiled. "I'm learning." I noticed. That was one of the few direct conversations we had in years. Later, while Noah was completing orientation, Vanessa and I stood outside the residence hall. "I heard you retired," she said. Yes. Happy? Mostly. I'm glad. How is Sacramento? Busy. And the nonprofit? Good. She hesitated. I got promoted. Noah told me. Oh. He also told me about the refrigerated truck. Vanessa looked embarrassed. Of course he did. You handled it well. Her eyes changed. Not hope. Just gratitude. Thank you. Then she looked across campus. I used to think authority meant being willing to make the decision nobody else would. Sometimes it does. I left out the part where some decisions aren't yours. Yes. She nodded. That was the expensive lesson. We watched students move boxes across the courtyard. Then Vanessa said, I'm glad you reported me. I turned toward her. No, you aren't. She laughed. You're right. I hate that you had to. That I believe. If you hadn't, she stopped. I waited. I don't know how far I would have gone before something worse happened. That possibility had crossed my mind too. Vanessa had not started with the Brig. She started with small exceptions. Skipped verification. Informal authorization. Helping Eric. Using my name because she assumed I would eventually agree. Every shortcut made the next one easier. Maybe something else would have stopped her. Maybe not. You stopped yourself eventually, I said. After everyone else stopped me first. Still counts. She looked at me. Do you forgive me? It was the first time she had asked directly since the divorce. I thought about the steel door closing. About my property bag. About the false behavioral health referral. About Noah asking whether I hated him. About Vanessa serving 30 days in the same kind of confinement she once believed would teach me obedience. Yes, I said. She began crying. Then I finished. But forgiveness does not change what happened. I know. And it does not change what we are. I know. No second chance. She wiped her face. I wasn't asking for one. I believed her. That made forgiveness easier. We said goodbye outside Noah's dorm. She walked toward one parking lot. I walked toward another. No dramatic turn. No last look. No reason to create one. Years earlier, Vanessa believed a family could be constructed by forcing everyone into the roles she thought were best. Now Noah had 3 adults in his life who showed up differently. Eric was his father. Vanessa was his mother. I was Owen. No guardianship document ever made that relationship official. It did not need one. The original Inspector General report remains in my files. I read it once after retirement. 6 pages. Written from inside the Brig. No accusations about Vanessa loving Eric more. No prediction that she would lose command. No demand that the Marine Corps ruin her career. Just 4 requests. Preserve the documents. Verify my signature. Review the basis for confinement. Determine whether military authority had been misused to compel a private legal act. Everything else came from what investigators found. People still sometimes called it the report that took Colonel Vanessa Cole down. That was never quite right. A report cannot forge a signature. A report cannot invent a threat. A report cannot falsify a housing declaration. A report cannot draft a behavioral health referral as leverage. A report cannot tell an adjutant to replace a page after MPs have already arrived. And a report cannot make a colonel admit under oath that she knew refusing guardianship was not an offense, so she created another reason to put pressure on her husband. The report did one thing. It made the system look. Vanessa supplied the rest. I had spent most of my adult life in the military, where orders mattered. Good orders kept people alive. Clear chains of command prevented chaos. Authority was necessary. But the hardest lesson of my marriage was also the simplest one I learned in uniform. Authority has borders. Rank has borders. Marriage has borders. Love has borders too. Not because love is weak. Because without the right to say no, care stops being voluntary. And once care is no longer voluntary, calling it family does not make it love. Vanessa wanted me to raise her ex's child. I refused the legal role. She put me behind a locked door because she believed pressure could turn no into yes. It didn't. I signed one report instead. That report opened an investigation. The investigation found the records. The records found the truth. And the truth took away the command she had used against me. Years later, Noah still called. Vanessa rebuilt a life where other people's signatures belonged to them. Eric finally learned that being a father meant staying when leaving was inconvenient. And I retired with my name, my career, and my record intact. Noah was never the burden. Saying no was never the betrayal. The betrayal was believing someone else had the right to decide what my yes should mean. They didn't. They never did. That's all for today. Remember to subscribe and support us.